Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Should you buy it? Welcome to a review of the newest Star Wars game developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by the dreaded EA. But is this another failed Star Wars game by Electronic Arts, or will it rise up and excel as a single-player Star Wars game? If this review helps you in any way, or you want to see more, make sure to leave a like, a comment, or even subscribe. This review will be in a 21:9 aspect ratio to give it that cinematic feel, and also because it's the native resolution of my monitor, which makes it far easier and enjoyable to record. When I first heard of this game, and all the way up until its release date, I was incredibly wary considering EA's past letdowns with the Star Wars franchise, but let's see how they handled this one. This review, as per usual, will be split into a number of categories, and as always, we'll start with graphics. As I've mentioned before, my pathetic GTX 1080 wasn't able to run the game on max settings without dropping frames, so I had the graphics lowered slightly to maintain a decent FPS. As to be expected by most EA Star Wars titles at this point, the game looks good. Now to be fair, I'd say the game wasn't quite up to the level of games like Star Wars Battlefront 2 in appearance, but it still looks pretty great. There were some moments I was pretty blown away, and others where I was left a little bit underwhelmed by the model or texture quality in certain areas. The overall look and combination of all the elements within the worlds though, looked incredible all combined together. Some of the characters, such as the Wookiees, look a little rough and definitely stand out as an eyesore when it comes to the beautiful planet of Kashyyyk. Occasionally you'll see certain areas of planets from a wide perspective, allowing you to see a lot of the area around you. This can look pretty nice, but often looks a little poor because of the reduced mesh and texture quality required to fit so much into the camera. Some of the characters look pretty decent, and enemies such as the Stormtroopers definitely look great, but other NPC type human characters do sometimes look a little fake. The lighting in the game is actually really good, with sunlight seeping through the trees on certain planets, as well as areas such as caves sometimes being incredibly dark, so much so that you'll have to use your lightsaber to illuminate the way. Overall, the game as a whole looks pretty beautiful, and most of the time you are sprinting or fighting your way through the world, so you won't even have time to stop and look around to notice the slightly less impressive details. The next category of the review is atmosphere and immersion. Now please, allow me to be IGN for just 1 second when I say that this game actually makes you feel like a Jedi. And now that that's out of the way, the worlds really draw you in and make you want to continue to explore and make sure you don't miss out on any awesome section of the planet, which can be easily missed if you don't look around. The HUD is relatively minimal during gameplay, allowing for most of the screen to be taken up by the gameplay, which is one of my favourite things in most games. The fact that you can only save at a meditation point also helps to add immersion rather than just being able to save at any location. The game is a third-person action-adventure style game, which means the main focus obviously isn't on immersion. But I will say that I honestly felt like I was on each planet, and despite what most people seem to say, I actually connected with Cal, which is the character you play as, which helped me to get drawn into the game even more. Aspects such as enemy health bars and your own health bar take away from immersion a little, but are kind of necessary for this type of game, so don't worry about that. But overall, the atmosphere is honestly so good, and it really made me want to just play and watch all things Star Wars once I was done. Now leading on from that, we have the category of music, sounds and voice, beginning with music.
I've suffered far worse.
Now I'm actually not sure if I'll be able to play too much of the music from the game here, as it's all pretty much Star Wars music, so I'm not sure if John Williams and Disney will destroy my ass for even 3 seconds in the video. But let me just say that the music is so Star Wars, and my god, it gets you hyped. Most Star Wars fans out there know what I mean when I say that just the music alone from Star Wars gets the heart racing. Just know that it makes the game feel so much like Star Wars, and honestly, makes it feel so good to play, and makes the cutscenes and epic scenes and set pieces feel even more amazing. If it helps to sell you on the music, I'm pretty sure Jewel of the Fates is even in the game. Next up, we have sounds.
Let's move forward.
From the sounds of blaster fire, the screeching of TIE fighters flying overhead, or the sound of a lightsaber slicing through an Imperial security droid, the sounds in this game all seem to blend together pretty seamlessly and make everything you do with your lightsaber feel incredibly powerful, and everything an enemy does feel incredibly dangerous. The sound feedback from scoring a hit on a dangerous enemy feels incredibly rewarding, as well as the feedback when you parry an enemy make the sound truly add to the gameplay in excellent ways. And then we have voice.
This is no common anarchist, but a devotee of the treasonous Jedi Order. Failure to turn over this traitor will result in a charge of sedition.
Who are you talking to?
Just my ship, the Manus. Good name, right? Intimidating. But what do you know? You probably never even flown a ship. Maybe I'll teach you one day when you're done with your Jedi stuff. I'll even give you a discount.
I don't know what's got second sister thinking you're so important. She likes her souvenirs, but I'm not in it for the
Some characters in this game portray real emotion and help you empathize with them, whilst others portray comedy in a way that gets at least a little snort or noise out of you when they speak. Some characters, on the other hand, are a little dull or don't have too much emotion when talking, such as Cal himself. The voice acting is overall pretty good though, and I actually enjoyed most cutscenes because of this. Now we move on to what is always the largest category of these reviews, and takes up a bulk of the video runtime, and that category is of course gameplay. Are the game and its systems actually fun and effective? We're going to start off with the aspects of the game that I consider good or effective within Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Possibly the most important aspect, considering EA's previous Star Wars games, is the fact that there are literally no microtransactions or loot boxes throughout the entire game. The only thing that is even close to that is the Deluxe Edition, which provides you with a few extra cosmetics, but it's an excellent step in the right direction. Right off the bat, this game could be considered an epic combination of a variety of games, including Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and Sekiro, all with a Star Wars skin on top. Now don't let the Sekiro/Dark Souls aspect that everyone talks about scare you off this game. I've never been a massive fan of Souls-like games, but I enjoyed the absolute crap out of this one. Personally, I played on the second highest difficulty, which provided enough challenge to make most things that I did within the game feel incredibly rewarding without making me rage or quit. If you prefer a much easier game and just want to experience the universe, you can easily drop and raise the difficulty at any point throughout the game, so you're never stuck on a very hard or very easy point. All the combat in this game actually feels amazing, and I don't think I ever got bored of fighting enemies within the game. Most games I begin to avoid enemies because I get sick of fighting, but I was always actively fighting any enemy I could in this game to help improve my skills, and because everything felt so good. From parrying an enemy's attack, to reflecting a blaster bolt directly at a stormtrooper, it was all done so well. Some of the boss fights in this game make you feel like an absolute badass whenever you pull off something awesome or defeat a particularly difficult boss. The game also has shortcuts, which can be opened once you progress to a certain point in the level, allowing you to easily get back to certain locations once you've already been there. The game actually isn't as linear as you may think, as there is often alternate routes you can go or extra areas to explore within each planet, which helps to break up the story a little and allows you to feel accomplished when you find something hidden. You can also travel between planets at basically any time you want, allowing you to return to certain planets once you unlock new abilities in order to access new areas you previously couldn't. This also allows you to travel to a certain planet early and unlock a certain lightsaber upgrade before you technically should. There is a skill tree which can be upgraded as you earn XP for defeating enemies and discovering secrets, which incentivizes exploring and provides you the ability to focus more on health, force abilities, or lightsaber combat. There are a few different force abilities that are unlocked throughout the story, all of which make you more powerful and provide more creative ways to kill enemies. One of the most effective methods to kill enemies was to simply force push them off the edge of the map, insta-killing them and allowing you to get past a few too many difficult fights. You are followed by an incredibly friendly droid named BD-1, who can also be upgraded with new abilities along the way, such as slicing locked doors and hacking enemy droids. One other aspect I quite liked was the fact that falling didn't mean instant death, but instead you just took some of your health off and respawned on the nearest ledge. The reason I like this is that there are a lot of places to fall off on every single planet, and it's very easy to fall off the map, so instant death would be a bit over the top in my opinion. Then there are a few aspects that I'm kind of on the fence about. The main one is the customization within the game. Despite the fact that there is a decent amount of customization for your character's clothes, lightsaber, BD-1, and your ship, the customization mainly consists of ponchos and colour changes. Now don't get me wrong, I actually liked that Cal wasn't customizable, as it actually allows him to fit into the Star Wars canon, which I'm a massive fan of. But I do wish the customization and outfits were slightly better. When it comes to lightsaber customization, the most important part being the colour of the laser itself wasn't fully customizable until very late in the game. Now, onto the not so great aspects in my opinion. The game seems rather inconsistent with which platforms and edges you can grab onto and which you can't. Sometimes I jump for a platform expecting to be able to grab onto the ledge and pull myself up, but would instead fall into nothingness. A lot of the bosses in this game just feel like padding to the boss roster, and not real bosses, as a lot of them are just reskinned normal enemies and random bounty hunters that jump you, which are awesome for the first or second time, but after that, they become pretty dull. There are probably only 3 or 4 proper boss fights throughout the game. Some of the force powers that you unlock feel a little dragged out, and should be unlocked earlier in the game in my opinion. The fact that you can't slice apart any remotely human enemies is also very disappointing, and kind of leaves a little to be desired from the killing blow on most stormtroopers and other humanoid enemies. Some aspects of the game, such as animations, can be janky as hell and look and feel really weird, but I will talk about this a bit more in the performance section. Moving on from gameplay, we will take a look at content. This is where we see how long the game is, and how long it will actually take you to complete, depending on how you play it. As usual, we'll be using the website How Long to Beat, as well as my own experience with the game to work out the times. Personally, I've played the game for about 26 hours, and besides a few unlockables and secret areas, I have completed basically everything within the game. The story itself, if you just focus on it and not exploring, should take you around 15 to 16 hours. If you decide to also do some exploring along with the story, then it should take you around 20 to 21 hours. And if you decide to go all completionist and aim to unlock all secrets and customization options, then the game should take you around 30-ish hours. Overall, the game is actually a pretty decent length, and if you're willing to explore, then I think the length is almost perfect. The only unfortunate aspect of this game is that there is almost no reason whatsoever to replay the game, which means once you are done, you probably won't be returning anytime soon. I would personally love to see some sort of New Game Plus mode or DLC added in the future. Now for once, this aspect of the review is going to be slightly larger than usual, because I feel it may be necessary, and that aspect is the performance. how well does the game actually run? Well, first of all, I was running the game at 3440 by 1440 on a GTX 1080, and the FPS seemed to take a pretty large hit pretty often. Some areas handled better than others, but the game often dropped below 60 FPS, and quite often even had a few stutters or sudden frame drops that were incredibly noticeable. There were also quite a lot of glitches or bugs that occurred throughout my playtime, which included NPCs who weren't meant to be holding any weapons, but looked like they were, but the weapons weren't visible. Hopefully I have that on screen right now, or it might not make much sense. There was also a time where two of the same character was on the screen during a cutscene. When I first flew to one of the planets, there was supposed to be a storm, but all you could see was a PNG of a storm that obviously hadn't rendered properly. When landing on a few planets, a lot of the terrain also failed to load in properly, resulting in being able to see straight through the world on more than one occasion. At one point during a cutscene, all the voice lines were completely out of sync as well. As I mentioned before, some of the animations are pretty clunky and look a little weird, and you or the characters around you will often be floating slightly above the ground, or your feet being down inside the ground. So yeah, there were definitely more glitchy or buggy things that happened, but they were some of the main ones that really stood out to me. This game could really use some patching or fixes, which may have already happened, but I doubt everything's been fixed. Now, on to the final category. We have the story. Now before you pull your hair out and cry yourself to sleep for the next week, I will be aiming not to spoil anything from the story. Cal Kestis is a Jedi living in secret on the planet Bracca. After a run-in with the Inquisitors, he sets off across the galaxy in an attempt to stop the Empire and rebuild the Jedi. I actually really enjoyed the story throughout this game. Most likely because I'm way too big of a Star Wars nerd, and what makes it better is the fact that I'm pretty sure it's now considered canon in the Star Wars universe, which just adds a lot more weight and importance to it. The story definitely isn't the main attraction of this game, but it definitely doesn't detract from it. And without spoiling anything, let me just say that the end of the game gave me literal chills. It was amazing. Now finally, we move on to the overall verdict and experience of the game. Of all the Star Wars games released any time recently, this one by far sits at the top of my list for the best Star Wars games. Even when you consider older Star Wars games, I would rank this game possibly as my third or fourth favourite of all of them, which is definitely saying something. I enjoyed the absolute crap out of this game and played it at any chance I got. It has to be some of the most fun I've had in a game this year, which is pretty impressive considering some of the gems that have been released this year. Overall, the game feels amazing to play and the combat and exploration is addicting and I never wanted it to stop. It truly feels like an amazing Star Wars experience, both for those who love Star Wars and even for those who don't. There are a decent amount of bugs and performance issues, but nothing that I don't think will be fixed in future updates. The game is currently $89.95 Australian dollars on Steam, and can also be purchased on Origin or the Epic Games Store for around the same amount. Just a heads up that if you buy the game on Steam, and I assume Epic Games, that you will still need to have Origin in order to launch the game, unfortunately. So, should you buy Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? If you're a long-time Star Wars fan and have been craving an actually enjoyable single-player experience, then I would absolutely recommend this game to you, no doubt, even at full price. I bought the game full price and I'm not upset about it whatsoever. If you're a bit low on money, of course you can wait for a sale on Steam, but you may have to wait a little while considering how well it's supposedly doing. If you're on the fence still after this review, then it's not going to hurt to wait. But I felt the same when I initially bought it and absolutely ended up loving it. Anyway guys, that was my review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. If you guys enjoyed this video, think about leaving a like or even subscribing, as everything like that really helps me out when it comes to making video for you guys. Also, if you played this game, let me know what you thought. And peace out everybody.